Hey guys, welcome back to Fantasy Tipped. My name is Julian and this is the injury report for week 6 of the fantasy hockey season. Before we get started guys, please leave a like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. Really appreciate all your support guys. Let's jump right into the content now, and let's start with the first injury of the video, and that's Rickard Rakell. And back on October 29th, he was placed on IR and was labeled as week to week. He's missed a few weeks now, so I don't imagine he's going to miss that much longer, but we have not heard an update regarding Rickard Rakell, so he probably has not resumed skating just yet. So while you're waiting another couple weeks for Rakell to come back, Sonny Milano makes for a pretty good replacement. Next is Viktor Olofsson of the Buffalo Sabres, and as I previously reported, he had a soft tissue injury, and that can keep you out for up to 4 weeks, sometimes even more than that, and it looks like it's going to be towards the long end of that spectrum. Unfortunately, Olofsson doesn't seem too close to returning, and until he does, Rasmus Asplund serves as a pretty good replacement. Next is Craig Anderson of the Buffalo Sabres, and he's the starting goalie for Buffalo, but unfortunately he's been out for a little while, and they want to be extra cautious with him because he is pretty old. He's over 40, and they're going to leave him out as long as they can to make sure that he doesn't re-injure whatever injury this is. So I expect Tokarski to start at least for this week and probably next week as well. Next is Brett Pesce of the Carolina Hurricanes. He's been practicing, but in a non-contact jersey, so you can expect him out for at least another week. And then once he comes back, Pesce's actually a pretty good addition to your team because he gets to play on that second Hurricanes power play on one of the best teams in the league. Next is Nino Niederreiter, currently practicing actually with the Carolina Hurricanes. He's been out for a little while, but looks like he's going to be traveling with the team now and could be back as soon as next game. Next are JT Compher and Nathan MacKinnon. MacKinnon's out for 3 weeks and Compher's out for a month. So while they're out, Logan O'Connor's actually playing on the top line with Landeskog and with Renton, and it actually makes for a pretty good replacement, especially for this week when Colorado plays on those off night days. Should be a very, very good streamer. And then there's Bowen Byram of the Colorado Avalanche going through concussion protocol, so you don't know exactly when that's going to end because concussions are kind of a tricky thing. You don't want to rush a player back in. So I expect Byram to miss this week at the very least, those 2 games, and probably next week he should be able to get back into the lineup. And until then, guys, Samuel Girard's absolutely killing it since Devon Toews returned, right? As his defensive partner and his partner on the power play, Girard just, I don't know, he just gets inspired by Devon Toews, and he's been a great player ever since he's returned. Next is Patrik Laine of the Columbus Blue Jackets, and he's slated to miss 4 to 6 weeks. So the earliest he can return is early December, like December 4th, 5th, 6th-ish. That's the best case scenario, though, because he could miss up to 6 weeks, so he could be gone up until right before the Christmas break. Until then, Cole Sillinger is playing on the top line and top power play in his place, and he's actually performing pretty well. Next, I have some huge news for Ben Bishop. For the first time in like 2 seasons, Ben Bishop is practicing. He is at practice right now. Khudobin has a bit of an illness, but I'm not too worried about that. And Holtby's out right now, and Ben Bishop is actually practicing. So he could be back pretty soon for all we know. I'm not super optimistic that he's going to be back this week, but potentially next week or the week after that, Bishop is finally practicing. They're not going to rush him back, but that's a really, really good sign in the right direction. Next is Brayden Holtby dealing with a minor lower body injury. Didn't end up playing on Tuesday, but he could play as soon as Thursday. They probably won't rush him back though, so Khudobin may end up getting Thursday's game. But I think Holtby returns this week. I'm not too worried about that injury. Next is Mike Smith of the Edmonton Oilers. Was supposed to return a couple weeks back, but it seemed like he suffered some kind of setback with his injury, and there's no real definite timetable as to when he's going to return. They're definitely not going to want to rush him. He's quite an old goaltender, so they're really not going to want to put any pressure on him to return early because then he's just going to suffer another setback and it's just not going to work out. So until then, Koskinen's actually been pretty good, so he's definitely the guy you want to ride in Edmonton until Smith is back. Next is Viktor Arvidsson of the LA Kings, and there hasn't really been much update on him, but he's in the COVID protocol and has been in it for over 10 days, so he's eligible to return for their next game. I'm not sure he will because there really has been no update on him, but he could return as soon as their next game, and then every game following that, he is eligible to come back. Next is Mike Hoffman of the Montreal Canadiens. He was placed on IR today, but it's retroactive to when he got injured, so he could potentially come back as early as Saturday. They just want him to rest a little bit, heal up, and make sure that he doesn't re-aggravate the injury. Therefore, I'm not optimistic that he comes back on Saturday, but next week, Hoffman should definitely be returning. Next is Carey Price of the Montreal Canadiens. He made it through the NHL Player Assistance Program, And now he's just dealing with that lingering knee injury, which a lot of people seem to have forgotten about. And apparently, though, he's going to start skating soon, so he could be playing as soon as, next week or the week after that. I'm not too worried about Carey Price. Once he gets in, he should definitely be the starter in Montreal for the rest of the year. And then there's Jake Allen of the Montreal Canadiens, and it looks like he's been diagnosed with a concussion, so he's going to be out for a little while until he gets over that. There's never really a timetable for a concussion. Until then, it looks like Cayden Primeau is probably going to carry the load because he played pretty well on Tuesday night. Next is MacKenzie Blackwood of the New Jersey Devils, was guided off the ice last game for a concussion protocol. He's back at practice though, and the Devils had the day off on Tuesday because their game got canceled, so he has until Thursday to rest up, and I think Blackwood will be starting their next game. Next is basically the entire Ottawa Senators team, and they all basically are on the COVID list, and that's why their games were canceled Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday this week, but expect a lot of them to be back for their games next week. Next is Ryan Ellis, and he came back for one whole game and re-injured himself. And now he's week to week. He's going to miss quite a few weeks, so luckily he was placed on the IR, so you can move him to your IR right away and grab someone who, is actually going to play for you. And if you're desperate, Rasmus Ristolainen is someone who's going to get PP2 time with Ryan Ellis out. He's not going to get that many points, but if you're in a bangers league, the dude hits a lot, so he's definitely got a pretty safe floor. Next is Evgeni Malkin, and he is practicing on his own, which is a good sign. He was slated to miss about 2 months of the season, so expect him back sometime in December. Next is Braden Schenn, and we had some conflicting information about him. First, they said he was going to be out for a while, and then the next day they were like, oh, he's only day-to-day, and it looks like he could be back as soon as the Blues' next game. I'm not too worried about Braden Schenn. He should be back quite soon. Next is Erik Cernak, and he didn't play on Monday, and it was supposed to be like a week-to-week-ish injury, but it looks like it's turning out to be more of a day-to-day injury, which is good news for you Cernak owners. He could play as soon as Thursday, but I wouldn't hold my breath on that one. He could potentially, though, return to the lineup Saturday or Sunday. That seems a little bit more realistic. Next is Petr Mrazek, and he looks like he's going to be back on the ice this week, but I'm not holding my breath that he's going to be back earlier than what was previously announced, which was a timetable of 4 weeks. That was from about November 5th, so he could be back the week of December 5th or so, but Jack Campbell was honestly playing so well, so even when Mrazek comes back, he probably doesn't see that many starts. Next is Alec Martinez, who was cut in the face by a skate, which is pretty scary. They're doing some additional tests to make sure that it was just a cut and there was no additional damage done to him. And if there wasn't, he could be back as soon as their game on Thursday, but I'm not super optimistic about that. They may give him a little bit more time to heal up, and potentially, if everything is perfect, he could be back this week. If not, he could be seeing some time on the sidelines. Next is Max Pacioretty, and he was slated to miss about a minimum of 6 weeks, and we're already approaching that threshold. That'll be next Thursday. I don't think he'll be back by then, but he is out of his walking boot, so he doesn't have too much further to go. He's going to have to start skating with some contact, and then he'll be able to rejoin the lineup. So probably won't happen next week, but could potentially happen the week after that, maybe the first week of December. Until then, Evgeny Dadonov is skating on the left wing in Pacioretty's spot alongside Stevenson and Mark Stone. Next is Nick Backstrom, and he was practicing in full gear recently, so there's a good chance that he comes back pretty soon, but according to the coach, there's no update on him, so I don't think he returns this week, but next week definitely is not out of the question if he is practicing in full. Next are the other 2 parts of Washington's second line. TJ Oshie still week to week, so don't expect him back before mid-December at the very earliest. And then there's Anthony Mantha, who recently had surgery, so he could miss most of the season for all we know. He's not going to be back for quite a few months. Next is Paul Stastny, who ended up missing Tuesday night's game, and it looks like he's probably going to end up missing Thursday and Friday games, although there is a chance that he plays it apparently, but I'm not going to be super optimistic about that. If they ruled him out for Tuesday in advance, I don't think he plays Thursday or Friday. And that's it, guys. Thank you so much for watching all the way through. Please leave a like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. Hope you guys enjoyed the content today, and I'll catch you in the next episode of Fantasy Tipped.